or a speech or anything, I now have to ask, am I speaking to Republicans or Democrats or Trump supporters? Which apparently is now all three different separate categories. Now we not only don't have Democrats who support our president, we have Republicans who don't support our president. So I'm very excited to be here with all of you and to be allowed to say how much I love Donald Trump.
Woo!
I'll be honest, I know for a fact I do not belong up here. I do not deserve a crowd like this. I don't deserve to be with all of you tonight. I got thrown into the craziest political time in our country ever. I didn't deserve to get the response that I got or the opportunities I've gotten. I certainly don't deserve a crowd like this, and I'm honored to be here with all of you. And I know that I can't tell you or I won't tell you how to think or how to feel about anything, but I would love to tell you how I think and how I feel about a lot of things, and hopefully share with you why we all love Donald Trump, and of course our amazing country, something that we all share and something I wish more Americans could share in nowadays. So I will start with 2015. So when Donald Trump announced that he was running for president, I was living in a really dark time. I think every 19, 20-year-old girl will tell you that. But it really was. I grew up here in Florida. I was 11 years old when I moved here, and I became a competitive figure skater. I gave up literally my family, my friends, my health, my body, my life for that sport, and I loved it more than anything in the world. And I came here and I was convinced that I was going to go to the Olympic Games. I trained every single day, and I had every injury in the world. I broke my left foot, my right foot, my tailbone. I had 4 concussions. I broke just everything you could imagine, but I thought I was going to go to the Olympic Games, and I worked every day towards that. And at 16, I destroyed my ankle. I tore 3 ligaments, 2 tendons, snapped my Achilles in half, broke every bone, and was told I would never ever skate again. At that point, we moved back to New York, and I thought my life was over, to be honest. I still had no friends and all of that, and I also took a 1.5 years to learn to walk again, which was pretty rough. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd never ever felt like I knew why I was alive, except when I was on the ice. So to not have that feeling was pretty terrifying. And then when I was 20, Donald Trump announced he would run for president. And for the first time ever, I felt slightly alive again. Every single day that I watched Donald Trump, literally when he was at 0%, I felt like myself again. This man literally took on the entire world. I mean, you all witnessed it. He took on the entire world. The left, the right, the Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, Hollywood elites, his friends, his family, the fake stories, the real story, everything. And he did it with a smile on his face and the most confident grin any of us had ever seen before then. And watching him, I was determined to not only come back to skating, but to come back to who I was, because I hadn't been that person in so long. And apparently Donald Trump had to come along for me to come back to skating and to be who I was. So I was already in love with him when he was still at 0%, but I knew that there was a hell of a lot further that he was going to go. So I watched Donald Trump every single day, like I said, take on the whole world. When he was at 0%, it wasn't like Beto O'Rourke now at 0%. Like he was going places. So if you see, you saw, he was up in the polls by the hour. This man went from 0% to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to up there as, he's going to be the nominee, just so you all know. And no one believed it. I think there's some liberals out there still don't think he won. We should invite him here and let him know. But people did not believe it, and I watched it every single day, and I believed it because inside I felt like a different person just watching him, literally just watching him campaign. I was like, now I'm a different human, so I know America is a different America just from having this man enter the race. He hadn't won yet. He was still one of, 15, and he had changed America for the better, despite what people say. Being in politics the short months that I've been in, I didn't listen to my husband when he told me this. Now I know. People in politics really just want money and fame. I'm sure you all know this, but that's all they want. And the other 16 people that ran against him wanted money and fame. I don't blame them for it. I probably align with them on a lot of ideals and policy ideas, but I knew why they were there. They wanted to be president. They wanted power, and that was great. but I couldn't figure out why Donald Trump was there. Because Donald Trump had the women and had the money and had the power and was more popular than Jeb Bush, could ever be. I mean, that's just what he was.
Yeah. True.
That's what he was, and he had no reason to run except to give back to the greatest country in the world, which is what he said every single day. And I don't know why people did not believe him. So watching him, not only did I become who I was, but I became an even stronger patriot, because there was someone out there who was giving up all the women, all the money, all the fame, all the TV shows, all the love that he had from the most famous people in the world to deal with some of the nastiest hate that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I've been doing this for a few months, and I have been called a Nazi and a fascist and every curse word I don't want to say right now. I've been spit on. I've had things thrown at me. I mean, there are days when I didn't want to get up, and to imagine that he dealt with a billion times more than that on a daily basis and smiled through it and fought through it is probably the most inspirational thing I will ever see in my lifetime. And I mean, obviously I'm beyond honored to be a part of that, but he changed my entire life just from running. And I don't say that lightly. He changed who I was, and then he physically changed my life. So my brother and I were beyond obsessed with him. And we found out that Trump Tower had a volunteer center a few blocks from our house. And we went to volunteer for the president's campaign. We spent all day and night there. When I say we have no friends, I mean we really have no friends. So my brother and I spent day and night at the Trump Tower Volunteer Center volunteering. And of course, within 3 days, I wanted more. So I wrote a long letter to the director of the data team of the Trump campaign. And I said, hey, I don't have a college degree, but I'm a patriot, and I know what Donald Trump needs to win. I know what the Volunteer Center needs to change. Let me help you. And within 48 hours, I was a full-time staffer on Donald Trump's campaign, which was beyond amazing. When I say Donald Trump changed my life, I'm not joking. I don't know where he is. He's up there. I met the love of my life on that campaign. He's standing right there. My husband was also working on the Trump campaign. So thanks to Donald Trump, I can always say I met the love of my life, which is pretty cool. Speaking of love, I don't know where she is. My best friend is here. She's up there. If anyone knows a gentleman between the age of 25 and 30,
yeah,
on my way for her. No Democrats. Literally no Democrats.
John.
So anyway, I'm serious. No Democrats. But as you know, November 8th, 2016 was pretty freaking magical. We won the greatest election in the history of the United States. And I got to witness all of it. The moment still has not hit me, but I can tell you at 8 p.m. we felt we were going to lose. Despite what every newspaper tells you, we thought we were going to lose. And at 9:30, I was in, we called it the war room in Trump Tower, with 6 gigantic TVs, the staffers I'd spent 24/7 with, the Pences, the Trumps, and Donald J. Trump, our now president. It was the greatest moment, literally, of my whole life. It has not hit me, it will never hit me. And the fact that Donald Trump gave me that moment, let alone my husband and this platform and everything since, the fact that I have that connection with a now president is the greatest gift and the craziest thing to ever happen. Since we won, obviously we've made America great again.
Yeah.
But I had to go back to my life, which I didn't realize. I went back to a modeling career that I had, which I didn't really like, but I had. I married my husband at Mar-a-Lago 7 months ago. But more importantly, I went back to being myself, something I hadn't been since I was 15, and that was all because of Donald Trump. And I knew that modeling was really not going to give back to the world the way that I knew that I should now be giving back. So I wrote to someone I knew at the New York Post, and I told them my story because I had actually hid that I was a Trump supporter and that I'd worked on his campaign. As you know, liberals are extremely tolerant, so that's kind of what I had to do. So I knew my modeling career would have been taken away from me the minute they found out, so I prepared for that for a few months, and it told my story to a New York Post. They published it, and my whole world literally flipped upside down. I was getting messages by the second, either telling me to go kill myself or telling me that they love me. I was on Fox News, Fox and Friends, within, I think, 24 hours. And I was basically touring the country on TV or radio, basically telling people to vote their conscience and to vote how they want to vote, something that should never have to be told to anyone in the 21st century in the greatest country in the entire world, but something I was lucky enough to get to tell people. After that, I knew that I had to do more, obviously. Donald Trump has done so much, and he changed my world and my life, and I could never go back to a life of being scared. I could never go back to a life of not giving back, not helping people, not standing up for the country that gave me literally everything. So that's what I did. 3 months ago, I launched the Exodus movement. Hopefully, you all have heard of it. I'm very proud. Obviously, encouraging Jews to leave the Democratic Party. As you know, the Democrats love Israel. They're not anti-Semitic at all. Great. But there's a lot that needs to be done, obviously. There's been a lot of problems in the United States, but we always overcame those problems because we're the greatest country in the world. But the fact that anti-Semitism is now one of those problems is not something that I ever thought I'd have to witness in my own lifetime. My whole family came to the United States from the Soviet Union. I'm a first-generation American in my family.
Wow.
And the fact that they escaped... The fact that they escaped for me to come here and not have to deal with anti-Semitism, and now I have to start my own organization to fight anti-Semitism in this country. As terrible and ironic as that is, that's where we are. But because it's the greatest country in the whole entire world, that's what I'm going to do. And I know for a fact we'll get through every single thing that these liberal anti-Semites throw our way. That's for sure. So right now my focus obviously is on getting people to vote the way that they feel that they should vote. There is no reason people should vote the way that people tell them. There's no reason people should vote because statistics show that Jews vote Democrat. That's not the way America is. African Americans, Latinos, Jews, no matter what group, no matter what singular person, should never be told that their vote is going to be taken for granted because that's just the way they should vote. That is not how our elected officials should be treating us, and I will make sure that never, ever happens moving forward from today. I want to make sure that Jewish Americans are treated the way they deserve to be treated. Anti-Semitism is on the rise, not because Americans are anti-Semitic, but because our members of Congress, our elected officials, have no problem now spewing anti-Semitic hate every single day, while our president fights to stop it. We also know that Israel has been an incredible ally to the United States, and our president has been the single greatest president for Jewish Americans and for Israel.
Yeah!
For that, I genuinely love our president very much. For that, I appreciate him so much, and for that, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because without people like him, without people that support him, like all of you, there would be no Israel. Israel does not exist because of the 2% of Americans, 2% of Jewish Americans, that we have that might or may not support it. Israel exists because of America, because of all of you, not Muslim, Christian, Jewish, doesn't matter, but because of America. And for some reason, those on the left want to tear us apart from our only ally in the Middle East, which is disgusting. And I'll make sure that this president's agenda, which will live on for 6 more years, will actually live on forever. I think I should share some personal stuff just because I'm 24 and can't really talk policy with any of you. There are 4 people in my life that I do everything for. My parents, my husband, my brother are the greatest people in the whole world and the reason that I'm strong enough to deal with everything, the reason I'm here. But there's actually 4 people that are not in my life anymore that are the real reason that I'm here. I was raised by my grandparents. On my dad's side, on my mom's side, actually by my adopted grandparents. I had a babysitter and her husband that became my adopted grandparents, and I never ever forget where I came from or who raised me. I think the problem actually with people my age, with the young Americans, is that they forget what came before them. Never in my life have I forgotten the people that fought and died for our country, or the people that fought and died simply for my freedom as an American and as a Jew. I think a lot of people have forgotten that. So I fight every single day for these sport people. My grandmothers are incredible, and they're all alive, thank God, but I lost 4 grandfathers, actually, and they're literally the reason that I am who I am. So my first grandfather, my father's father, passed away when my father was in his 20s, so I never got to meet him. I'm told that I look just like him, which is pretty amazing, but I never got to meet him. He passed away basically because of my dad, my grandmother, and my aunt escaping to America. So he let them leave because the Soviet Union would not let him escape, and in the meantime, he lost his life. So my grandfather passed away literally for my freedom, for me to be born in the single greatest country in the world. My step-grandfather was a Holocaust survivor. He was 12 years old, and he survived the camps, and he was actually the proudest Democrat. Don't boo. He was the proudest Democrat actually anyone would have met my whole life. He loved the Clintons. I don't know why. He loved the Clintons. Huge, huge Democrat. And on his deathbed 3 years ago in 2016, 5 months before Trump was reelected, he actually looked at me and my brother and my parents, and he said, "You vote for Donald Trump, and you make America great again." My adopted grandfather and best friend in the whole world also passed away around the same time. He also, from the Soviet Union, was the proudest American. Honestly, my whole family, I think when you realize how great we have it compared to literally anywhere else in the world, that's when you know how lucky we are to be Americans, and that's why so many young people, I guess, don't understand, that are so disrespectful and disgusting towards the greatest country in the world, but I'm working on it. But my grandfather was the proudest American and the toughest person in the world, and he taught me to never, ever, ever be afraid of anything. I cry every day, honestly, thinking about the fact that he's not here witnessing all of this, because he would have loved Donald Trump, let me tell you. And my grandfather, my mom's dad, who passed away right after the election, somehow through his Alzheimer's, I think he actually still able to realize that Donald Trump became president, and that was the first smile we saw from him in a few years, so that was amazing. But he was an artist back in the Soviet Union who was not allowed to paint what he wanted to paint because you weren't allowed to be openly Jewish back in Russia. So my grandfather gave up his life and escaped with my mom and my grandmother to America with $90 in his pocket to live the American dream. He was literally the proudest American in the whole world. He always told me that his proudest moment was when I was 6 years old and we had a school play, and it was right after 9/11, and I actually grabbed the microphone during a play, which I was not supposed to do, and screamed, "I'm so proud to be an American." I'm not as cute as I was then, but nothing has changed. My grandfather was also the proudest Jew in the whole world. He's the reason that I am who I am, and he was the toughest person you'll ever meet. If he didn't like someone, he spit on them and walked away. Not one person disrespected him. He was Donald Trump before his time, basically. Not one person disrespected him. No one stepped on his country, his people, his religion, nothing. And I feel like he's literally with me every step of the way. When I get spit on, when I get yelled at, he's here every step of the way. I'm sure he's here right now, laughing at me for how nervous I was before this. But I'm sure he's here right now. I'm sure he's here always. And it's for my 4 grandfathers, for my whole family, that I fight every single day for my country, the single greatest country in the entire planet, and for my future children that will hopefully get to be born under the Trump administration, and in the greatest country in the entire world. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think she'll take a few questions, so if you'd like to, anybody want to ask a question, I'll bring the microphone up to you. Anybody for a question, please?
I'm pretty bored.
Yes, sir?
How do people sign up to get active with Exodus?
Easy. Go on theexodusmovement.com. Very simple. Thank you.
Anybody else for a question, sir?
Where are you? What are you doing? Where are you finding the Jews in Temple? What are you doing to talk to them?
So unfortunately, Temple has become a pretty liberal place. So we have we started with literally a tweet. I don't know how many of you saw the president tweet my name and literally blow up my entire life, which is great without a warning. But that happened, and I did not know that this organization would, come about, and it did, and it was incredible. But I didn't want to be a person that went on Fox News every month and decided to talk about policy. I wanted to make a change. I want to look at the numbers and say I made a tangible difference, and this many more Jews voted Republican in 2020 because of me. So we have a digital team, we have a political team, we have a whole group of people, and we're actually focused on 31 congressional districts in 8 different states, where the difference in 2016 between Trump and Hillary came down to a smaller number than the number of Jews in that state. So we know that we can make a difference. We know that Jews have not been listened to. Jews have been taken for granted for so many years, and because there hasn't been an organization like this, the Democrats can spew whatever they want, but they don't actually know what we can do with the kind of numbers that we can change. So hopefully with my organization and the greatest president of all time, we will do that.
Yes, ma'am. We've got this question, and we'll take one more before we finish up on this segment. Here you go, ma'am.
I live in a community that's filled with Democratic Jewish people who you can't say a word to them without them attacking you back. Do you have a way of talking to people who are brainwashed by the media and convincing them what they're doing is wrong?
I'll be honest, sometimes I need security to deal with those people. Honestly, funny story. I was here a few weeks ago for a donor meeting, and the person's cousin showed up and sat down and did not ask me who I was or what I did, and just looked at me and said, as long as we can all agree that Donald Trump kills Jewish people, you're fine with me. And I looked at her and I said, excuse me? And by the end of the conversation, she called me a Nazi and walked away. So there are certain people that I will not talk to. They don't deserve to talk to me or to live in this country. But there are a lot of people that just, I don't think, understand what's going on because they've been lied to. So what I like to do is have people tell me why they don't support Donald Trump or a certain Republican or a policy, understand where they're coming from, show them the lie that's been taught to them on the internet so they can realize they've been lied to by the media and the Democrats for so long. And that's the only time when they will start to come around and say, oh, maybe there's another answer, why have I been lied to? And that's the only thing that's ever worked.
We have one more question right here.
I'd like to know where the challenges are for the Jewish congresspeople, such as Schumer and Nader and the rest of them, why they aren't talking out about anti-Semitism. It's a disgrace.
I assume the people you mentioned were probably dropped on their heads as children. I feel like there's certain people that I will never understand. There are people that don't stand up for their own people or any people. But like I said, politicians want power more than anything. And when you've been a lifelong politician, you're probably the dirtiest person that you can be. And you care about power and votes above people, your own religion, anything you care about. And if you're a lifelong politician, you'll do whatever it takes for the votes. And that means forgetting your religion and your morals and everything else.
One more. Ma'am, come on.
Oh, she said Democrat.
My great-grandparents were beaten to death with the legs of their own chair in the pogroms in the late 1800s in Russia. My grandfather came here to this country, his little brother that saw their parents laying there in blood as well, stayed there. His little brother turned out to be Marshal Gorky Zhukov. Marshal Zhukov was born Jewish. He forged his birth certificate to hide it to get into Russian military school. We're looking for, in May, to go to the Victory Day parade and get the Star of David on his statue in Moscow Square.
My question, but that's amazing.
Okay, we're not going to let you get away just that quickly, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Pipko, she self-funded her trip to come down and be with us here today. We truly appreciate it. We have a little award we want to present to you. Sue Snowden, if you would come up here.
I've seen that lady hold up a sign that says Democrats for Trump. The one that just spoke. Oh, yeah.
I don't frankly have time for total political correctness, and this country doesn't have time either.
We couldn't get Donald Trump here today because he doesn't come here in the summertime. But we have the Trumpy Award, which we give for bravery. And I certainly believe that Elizabeth deserves the Trumpy Award for speaking out and showing her love for our president. Thank you.